Hello and welcome to Star Citizen. My name is evenleasesc, and today on 10 Minutes More or Less Ship Review, right behind me, the DRAKE Buccaneer, a light fighter. Let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, welcome back everybody to another review. Now, like always, before I get started, I just want to let you know, tonight is the last night. Tomorrow I'm closing the giveaway that is going on right now for the Peregrine around 2 o'clock PST. So just enter if you haven't already, and good luck to everybody. You all are truly awesome, and keep an eye out for more giveaways coming soon. Now, taking a look here at the DRAKE Buccaneer. I haven't looked at this ship since 3.22.1, I believe it was, and there's been a couple big changes to it, and so it's probably a good idea to take a look at it again. Now, I will be mentioning the change that is coming to this ship with the whole new list of changes that was brought out on Spectrum by CIG, coming to all the ships in the verse. And basically, this thing will go from having two size 1 shield generators down to one size 1 shield generator. So when drastic changes happen, I'll definitely try to make another video on it. But if it's only one little change like that, I'm just going to let you know right now that that will drop its shield strength in half if they don't change the numbers of what the shields do. So we'll keep an eye on that, and I'll post another video if it's needed. But otherwise, this ship here, if you were to buy it on the Pledge Store when it is available, it is $110. Now, you can also buy it in-game for 1,663,200 aUEC. It is actually a very fantastic in-game price, and surprisingly, it only went up a very little bit compared to what it was prior. Prior, it was sitting at 1.4 million aUEC, so not a big increase at all. Now, outside of that, this ship does have a 2,260 stock DPS, which is phenomenal. Given the fact that this thing is a light fighter, if you were to compare it against like the Gladius or the Arrow, this thing absolutely dunks on those ships. This thing is fantastic. It's got quite a few weapons allowing it to achieve that DPS, starting with the very big size 4 Revenant Gatling gun on the top of the ship, and then you have a 2 size 1 Yellow Jacket GT210s on the wingtips, as well as 2 size 3 CF337 Panthers also on the wings. Now, that's a phenomenal amount of firepower. They are all mostly on the wings there, so you got to be careful not to lose any wings, obviously, because if you do, you're going to lose one of those big, beautiful engines of yours. Now, outside of that, you do have 2 size 2 Tempest 2 missiles and 2 size 2 Ignite 2 missiles. If we were to play the comparison game, which is not a terrible thing to do because you're kind of looking at what ship you want to buy, this ship doesn't have nearly as many missiles as some of the other ships that it's compared to, like the Arrow or the Gladius or other light fighters. So that is definitely something to consider if you do like, slinging a missile before you attack. Outside of that, this ship does have some defensive capability. It's actually better off than a lot of those ships with 3,000 current shield. It has 3,000 bubble shield currently. Like I said, with that newest update to ships coming sooner or later, this thing might drop to 1,500, which might put it more in line with some of the other ships like the Gladius or the Arrow. But currently, this thing does have 3,000 shield, and it also sits higher in the health pool point area as well, with 10,580 ship health points. That's actually really good, and I'll tell you right now, nothing changed with the weapons, the shields, or the ship HP from 3.22 to now, and that's 3.24.1. Just because of the fact that maybe a little bit of like the DPS difference, just because they changed how much like damage output these weapons do, but none of the sizes changed, and the shield was the same and the ship HP was the same. So that's good to know that there wasn't any really drastic changes with that between the versions. But there was other changes that definitely stand out. Like going into the ship's speed, which this thing is built all around. It is a very fast ship. And being a light fighter or an interdictor style ship, this thing has a top speed of 240 SCM with a 600 forward boost and a 260 backwards boost. It also has a 1400 nav speed, which is fantastic. Surprisingly, the Titan still is faster than this ship, but this ship is still phenomenal with its current speed, outmatching a lot of its competition and making it quite the threat out there on the battlefield. Now, speaking back on those health points, you got to be very careful because this ship does have a lot of little areas that can be taken apart due to consistent fire. Like a lot of these little wing areas, you can start losing weapons, you can lose an engine, which could spell disaster. You just got to make sure you take the advantage of this thing being so small and fast and try to keep your target from hitting you as much as possible. That is always a recommendation for any ship in any battle, but especially so with this thing relying a lot on those wings. Now, this does have an internal storage of 0.65, and you can access that if you go up to the side of the cockpit, hold F, and choose open storage, allowing you to store weapons, armor, and other items there. So that's a pretty nice little ability that you can do. There is no gold standard or comp pass on this, so there is no components or anything that are accessible to you. That is definitely something that will need to change, and it'll be interesting to see where they fit it in. More than likely, most of the components will be stored on the very top of the ship because there's really no place to put it elsewhere. Unless this thing decides to grow dramatically, there really is no place. And even with that weapon up there, it's going to be quite cramped to see where they store a lot of the components. Outside of that, it did get a boost from its quantum fuel, going from, it was only 29 more quantum fuel. It sits at 612 now. So that's something to consider. Now, in 3.22, the ship was also slower. It sat around 210 SCM at like a, fighting speed, and then 1300 max like overall speed. So it definitely has gotten faster, which is great. That's always a nice thing with this ship, and it hits really hard. So that is something to consider with this ship. Now, it has a very sizable EM rating, surprisingly. It's a small profile, which makes it harder to track, like, your cross-section, but your EM rating is larger, almost 2 times larger than things like the Gladius or the Arrow, so something to consider there as well. You will be visible further off, sitting around 10,000 EM rating, so it's going to probably put you around 10 kilometers where they can kind of see you, so consider that when you're out there trying to stay maybe potentially stealth. You're probably not going to stay stealthy with this ship too easily. Now, let's go ahead. I'm going to try to dogfight somebody really quick, or just find an AI or something to fight and see how this thing performs, see how it looks. All right, I am arriving to the site of the bounty here. It's not a player bounty, sadly. I have not been able to get player bounties since 3.23 released, and I've contributed to the issue council on the fact as well, so hopefully we'll get that solved sooner or later. It seems like quite a few people are having that issue. So let's go ahead and attack these bounties and see what we can do. So as you can see, this thing had a zero problem dispatching those AI targets, and it would really have no problem against player targets either, depending on how good of a pilot you are, of course. But this thing just has a phenomenal amount of weapons. It's really lacking in its missile department compared to other ships in its range, and its EM rating is really high, so expect to be seen from a pretty good distance. But otherwise, it's still a phenomenal ship, and it outputs a phenomenal amount of damage. having access to the storage on the side and being able to get places really quickly makes this thing a great like daily flyer if you're not looking to have any like big cargo space to carry boxes with. Now this thing, honestly, it's still a pretty high up there score for me. The only thing that really drops it down, like I said, is the missiles, the EM rating, and the fact that it's missing its gold standard and components pass. But right now, quite a few ships are missing that, so it'll be really nice when we see those things get updated. This ship for me is a 7 out of 10. It's still phenomenal, and I honestly would pick this over many other fighters, and I think I'd keep this thing in my hangar. Buying it with the aUEC is absolutely worth it if you're looking to go out there and fight once in a while. Let me know what you think of the Drake Buccaneer down in the comments below. Do you have one? Do you plan on getting one? Is it kind of your style, or are you looking for something maybe not Drake? Thank you guys for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.